Good morning, everyone. So we're going to talk about eyes and ears disorder, presented by Santos Germin Ruz, Datos Asimban Raslani, and Irigon Noel A. Okay, so we're going to cover 5 topics under the eyes and ears disorders: the retinal detachment, cataract, glaucoma, otitis media, and Meniere's disease. Okay, the introduction: the eyes allows us to see, perceive, and interpret the world around us through the detection of light and color. Okay? So we have here the anatomy and physiology of the eye. But we're going to talk about how the light passes in our eyes and interpret. Okay? So as you can see guys, may maraming mga words or maraming mga parts ng eyes, and dyan yung mga parts ng eyes natin. Okay? So ngayon we were going to discuss kung paano ba nag-travel yung lights into our eyes to interpret by our brain. Okay? So the lights will go into the cornea. Okay? It will enter to the eye via cornea. Ang cornea natin is the protective layer of our eye. Okay? After the eye, after the cornea, it will go into the anterior chamber of the eye and going to the pupil, and magre-retract siya sa lens. Okay? It will retract in the lens. And of course, after the lens, they will pass directly on the macular area or the macula lutea. Okay? Sila yung ang macula lutea, sila yung binubuga ng light coming from the lens. Okay, the detailed central vision. Okay, and then after the macular, they will send the signal light into the optic nerve. Okay, sa optic nerve, direct to the brain to perception. Okay, so yun, interpret na kung ano yung nakita ng eye natin. Okay, kung ano yung nakita natin, so i-interpret ng brain. So ayun. And of course, iris. Okay, hindi natin lahat itatakila. Iris is the one contracted and nagre-regulate siya ng amount ng light that passes sa ating mga mata. Kaya kapag sobrang liwanag na nakikita natin, magko-constrict yung eye natin kasi nga nire-regulate niya yung lights na pumapasok sa eyes natin. Okay? And of course, we have here also the anterior and posterior chamber. Ang anterior chamber, that is the space front of the lens, and while the posterior chamber, ang tawag naman sa space behind the lens. Okay, so we have also the 3 layers of our eyes: the sclera, choroid, and retina. When it comes to sclera, ito yung outermost ng mata natin. Siya yung nag-hold ng eye natin to maintain circle, like that. Theory ko lang. And choroid, ang choroid naman is the middle line. It contains the blood vessels. Okay? And retina, that is the innermost. This is the innermost responsible for the detection of lights. So, meron tayong light sensitive. Composed siya ng dalawa, which is the rods and cones. Ang rods for insight vision, for fine discrimination and peripheral vision. And of course, ang cons is for daylight vision, color, and central vision. So that's it. The retinal detachment. Ang retinal detachment is the separation of the retina from the epithelium or the choroid. Okay? Due to aging, due to stresses, due to I think pwede siguro tumor, I think ganyan. Or pwede rin po siya na diabetic retinopathy. Okay? And of course, separation of the layer of the retina due to accumulation. Ayun nga, due to accumulation of fluid or new growth between them. And of course, possible na magkaroon ng blindness when the separation becomes complete. Kaya kailangan siyang ma-cure or kailangan siyang kailangan siyang maagapan agad para hindi mabulog yung pasyente natin. Okay, so what are the cause kung bakit ba nagkakaroon ng retinal detachment? So, yung una is shrinkage of the vitreous humor. So, pwedeng dahil sa aging or tumatanda na yung client or yung pasyente. Dahil kasi doon parang may mahina na yung connection ng choroid from the joke lang, yung retina from the choroid. So, yun. And of course, injury, lalo na kapag medyo sporty yung client. So, kunyari boksingero, possible kasi na ma-injured yung eye. It can lead to retinal detachment. Pwede yun. And advanced diabetes. Okay, why? Kasi yung diabetes retinopathy. Okay? Sa diabetic retinopathy, nagkakaroon ng ischemia kasi napupuno ang blood vessels ng plaque. Dahil doon, di nakakadaan ng oxygen. Therefore, nagkakaroon ng necrotize, okay, ang retina. Kaya ang nangyayari is nagde-detach siya sa choroid. Okay? And of course, inflammatory eye disorder, pwede rin po yun. And lastly, yun nga, sabi ko kanina, aging. Hindi na maganda ang connection ng retina sa choroid. So, what pathophysiology of the retinal detachment? So, yun. Okay. So, vitreous humor shrinks as a result of aging. Like sinabi natin kanina. Dahil nga doon, nag-shrink siya. Ayan. Karoon ng pulling of the retina away from the choroid. And vitreous humor escapes from the choroid vessels. And nagkakaroon ng increase in the size of detachment. And nagkakaroon ng neuronal ischemia of the retina. Therefore, nagkakaroon ng vision loss si patient. Pwede yung total blindness. Ganyan. And what are the signs and symptoms or clinical manifestation ng retinal detachment? So we have here the sudden painless and floaters, flashes of lights, that is what we call photopsia, and blurred vision, and sensation of curtain or veil being drawn across the field of vision, and shadow inside vision. Okay? Inside vision. Okay, so signs and symptoms, as you can see here in the picture, so we have here the sudden flashing lights. Okay? Yung bigla na lang na magpa-flash na lights kahit wala naman talaga. Okay? And of course, meron tayong new floaters. Ang new floaters, normally we've seen floaters actually. Kaya, wag tayong ma-alarm if ever na makakita tayo ng mga floaters. Pero if ever na dumadami yung floaters na yan, to the point na wala tayong makita. So, possible na sira na yung retina or nagkaroon ng detachment. Kaya, kailangan natin siyang i-report. Hindi tayo dapat pakampante. And of course, we have the shadow and side vision and gray curtain. They are similars, okay? Parang may nakarang lang na somewhere, ganun. Okay, so sa kabila, sa paligid, ganun. Ayan. Okay? Kasi natanggal na yung retinal detachment. Nagkaroon ng retinal detachment. Parang ganun. So, ayan yung signs and symptoms ng retinal detachment. Okay, so, what are the immediate intervention? Ito yung immediate intervention na dapat natin kailangan natin gawin sa pasyente. So, we promote bed rest, okay, sa patient. And of course, kapag nagkaroon ng retinal detachment, yung affected part, so we need to cover, pwede rin palang cover both eyes with the patches to prevent further detachment. Kung yung dalawa yung nagkaroon ng detachment, kung isa lang, so isa lang, lagyan mo. And of course, speak to the client before approaching. Okay? So baka kasi may tendency na tumaas yung BP ng pasyente natin kasi nagulat. Kaya baka lalo namang mag-detach yung retina. Kaya dapat before we approach, we give a sign na nasa harap tayo or papasok tayo or kakausapin natin yung pasyente. So like pwede tayong kumatok bago tayo pumasok sa room. Okay? So and of course, position the client heads as prescribed. And avoid jerky head movements, baka kasi lalong ma-irritate yung retina to the point na mag-detach siya lalo. And of course, minimize eye stress and prepare the client for surgical procedure as prescribed. Then, call the physician if the patient is ready. Okay, so we are done with the immediate intervention to the surgical management. Ang surgical management natin is crest surgery. It is the sealing of the retinal breaks. Okay, it is a cold probe applied doon sa sclera, doon sa harap ng mata natin to stimulate an inflammatory response leading to adhesion. And of course, meron din tayong diathermy, use of electrode needle and heat through the sclera to stimulate an inflammatory response also. Okay? Kung sa cryosurgery, cold, ito naman sa diathermy is heat. Okay? Okay lang. And laser therapy, ang laser therapy is stimulates also an inflammatory response, and of course to seal small retinal tears before detachment occurs. Okay, so we also have a sclera sclera buckling. Ito naman yung nag-hold sa choroids and sa retina together with the splint under scar tissue forms closing to the tear. Okay, so ito yung parang parang goma siya na bilog na ilalagay surrounding on the sclera para para mag detach or mag-attach ulit yung choroid and yung retina. And it is the buckle is produced by a piece of silicone sponge, rubber, or a semi-hard plastic that the ophthalmologist place on the outer layer of the eye, which is yung sabi ko nga kanina, sclera. And also, of course, we have here the retinopexy, a procedure to repair a detached retina, restore vision. Okay? Ito yung the physician will introduce bubble in the eye. Okay? Will introduce the bubble in the posterior chamber of the eye. Yung bubble na yon will push the retina to the choroid or papunta sa wall para mag-attach ulit sila. Okay? So that is the surgical management ng retinal detachment. So the next one is post-operative management. Okay, so unang-una dyan is gravity on the unaffected side. Okay, meaning to say, okay, na kapag nasa right side yung inayos na mata, okay, so ang higa ng pasyente is dapat left side. Okay, doon din sa kabila, kung sa left side yung inoperahan, so ang higa is right side naman. Okay, and of course, immediately report any pain. Okay, because pain is not normal after surgery. Kaya dapat natin yan i-report immediately. Okay? And of course, use an eye patch and shield. Okay? Ang shield is, parang sinusuot yata yan kapag pag umaga. Or, gabi pala siguro. Para to avoid pagkamot or para hindi makamot fever lang nakamuti ng pasyente. And yung patch naman, pwede yan gamitin naman kapag maaga. Okay? Para lang may cover sa mata. And in the first week, avoid reading, writing, and close work para hindi ma-restrain ang eye natin. Okay? O yung eye ng pasyente. And of course, bed rest and avoid jerky head movement para hindi naman ma-stress yung eye. Okay?
Good day, everyone. Hi, my name is Dato Asima Madrastani. So, after the retinal detachment that discussed by Mr. Noel Irgon, so let's go to the cataract. So, maybe some of you were able to see some people with the cataract already. So, ito yung may kulay puti sa mata. So, this cataract is defined as opaqueness covering the lens of the eye. So, as you can see on the pictures below, na meron dalawang na-differentiate, which is from the left side is yung mata na walang cataract, and from the right side naman is yung mata na merong cataract or yung lenses na clouded or cloudy, ganun, or filmy, kung ano man gusto yung tawagin dyan. So, what happened to patient with cataract? Of course, sa harapan yan mismo. So, yung pagpasok ng light, it will be affected. So, blurred yung vision of the image that the patient see is distorted. So the image that projected of the retina is distorted also, or kung tawagin natin, is yung wala sa ayos. And it can also progress to blindness. So patient with cataract should be managed early on. Because lens is focuses light to create a sharp image, 'di ba? So, how can the retina sends the good visual image to the brain kung yung lens natin is merong nakaharang na kulay puti. So hindi siya nabe-visualize ng ating utak dahil wala namang maayos na image na pumapasok sa retina natin. So this is the possible cause of the cataract. So number one, which is the most common, is the aging process. As we age, a lot of protein deposit. So this protein deposit over the lens or in the children who born to mother with rubella infection in their pregnancy. So they can be born with congenital cataract, or it can be also due to injury of what we call the traumatic cataracts. Yan yung mga nabangga or inasundot or tinusok ng lapis during your elementary days or inasuntok sa mata. So later on, they will producing a protein deposit na pwedeng mag-occur yung cataract or this person or these people early on in their life. Another one is the chronic infection, and the other one is the diabetes mellitus. Because as you age, the lenses of your eyes become less flexible, less transparent, and thicker. So kapag meron kang diabetes, blood sugar or blood glucose levels over time can lead to structural changes in the lens of the eye. So, mas na with this kind of diabetes mellitus, napapabilis niya yung pag-development ng cataract. So, what are the clinical manifestations for the cataract? Of course, number one is yung the gradual loss of sight. When we say gradual is unti-unti, okay? Hindi siya yung agadan, gradual nga eh. So, when we say gradual is unti-unting pagkawala ng vision natin. And next one is yung blurry vision, in particularly in central. And next one is opaqueness of the lens. So opaqueness is yun yung nakikita natin na huli puti sa mata and decreased color perception as the condition worsen. So as you can see kanina doon sa pictures, sa unang slide ko ng cataract, meron akong in-input doon na pictures wherein with the normal eye and the eye with cataract. So the normal eye, yung pictures na nakikita niya doon is maganda, clear vision talaga as in makikita mo yung kulay ng sunflower, even ng cloud, at saka nung langit. Pero, when it comes to eye with cataract, parang naging colorblind. Lahat color brown lang. Why? Kasi nga, meron nakaharang sa lens mo, which is hindi na visualize ng utak natin kung ano bang color yung nakikita natin or yung nasa harap natin. And next is the vision that is better in dim light with pupil dilation. Kasi 'di ba kapag madilim, yung nagdadilate yung pupils natin. And next is the photophobia. So hindi ito yung phobia sa mga pictures or yung may takot sa pictures. So photophobia is yung sensitivity to light and it can cause pain kasi. Kaya ganun. So kapag natutukan tayo ng maliwanag na ilaw or kapag yung taong may cataract is natutukan ng maliwanag na ilaw at sikat ng araw. And lastly is the absence of the red reflex. So ano nga ba itong red reflex? So red reflex happens when the flash of a camera lights up the blood-rich retina. If the eyes are looking directly at the camera lens and the color of the reflex in both eyes is red. So that's usually a good sign that the retinas of both eyes are unobstructed and healthy. With cataract, there is a sign of absence of red reflex. So, ito yung kadalasan chine-check during the ophthalmoscopy. Ayan. So, before pala, meron pala mga camera na wherein kapag pinicturein ka with flash, of course, tas yung tingin mo is directly from the lens of the camera. So, ang mangyayari is meron pala talagang natitsyempohan na kulay pula or orange eyes sa mata natin. So, huwag kayong matakot kasi it's indicated daw na healthy yung ating mata. Pero matakot kayo sa mga taong magdamag, namumula yung mata. So, matik iba na yun, di ba? Hindi na siya healthy. For the management naman, meron tayong surgical intervention. So, bakit wala nga pang medical intervention? Dahil first line treatment for the cataract talaga is the surgery because this is the most effective and currently the only approved intervention for cataracts regardless of the etiology. So, ito yung when it comes to surgical intervention, so ito yung pinakamadalas gawin which is yung laser lalo na kapag meron kang budget. Pero yung iba naman is the traditional way or the surgery, yung the removal of the lens pero one eye at a time lang siya. If dalawang mata yung affected because it is possible talaga na ma-develop yung cataract only in one eye. But in most instances talaga is the patient is experience both eye of the cataract. However, since magkakaiba sila ng way ng pagtanda, you can find talaga a person na isa lang yung affected eye. Magkakaiba sila ng rate, 'di ba? Magkakaiba ng rate kung dalawa ba yung maapektuhan na mata or even isa lang. So, what they do in a surgical intervention nila, it's either the ECCE, the extracapsular lens extraction, and the intracapsular lens extraction. So, in the next slide, makikita nyo yung procedure ng intracapsular by looking at the pictures. So, in the extracapsular is lens lifted without removing the capsule. So, ano nga ba yung tinatawag natin na capsule? So, a capsule is a thin membrane around the eye's natural lens. So, ano nga ba yung ginagawa ng capsule? It helps give the lens its shape. So, ayan. And this may be performed by breaking down the lens by ultrasonic vibrations and is then extracted. So, tatanggalin yung lens at papalitan ng bago. And when it comes to intracapsular naman is buo yung tatanggalin with the lens capsule. Pero parehas sila papalitan ng bagong lente. So yung sa ECCE is um, yung lens yung tatanggalin without removing the capsule. Pero sa intracapsular naman is buo yung tatanggalin by doing the small incision. Pero before this surgery, the mydriatics will be given for dilation of the pupil. Eh, what's the reason? For the better access dun sa lens. So for the ECCE or the extracapsular, for the letter A, the incision is made in the eye just beneath the iris or the color part. And then the diseased lens is pulled out, which is yung letter B. And for the letter D naman is the prosthetic intraocular lens is placed through the incision. So, bakit nauna yung letter D? Kasi yung letter C is, ito lang naman yung intraocular lens na ipapalit doon sa tatanggalin mamaya. And for the last letter for the letter E is the open to replace the old lens. What will be the nursing intervention? Number one, provide safety related to loss of vision. Kasi right after the surgery, malabo pa yan. Kasi may mga gamot nga na pinatak. So remember, yung mydriatics is for pupils dilation. So when pupils dilated, the image appear to us is blurred. And that's one of the symptoms of mydriatics. So make sure na meron kasama si patient right after the surgery for any possible accident and injury. I mean to avoid any possible accident and injury. Next is the elevate the head part of the bed for about 30 to 45 degrees para maiwasan natin yung intraocular pressure para hindi ma-dislodge yung bagong lente na in-implant. And of course, administer antibiotics and analgesics for pain and prophylaxis naman for infection. Tell the patient not to touch the eye and most especially do not rub the eye. Diba? Prevent increased intraocular pressure, especially the post-op. So, Instruct the patient na wag muna yuyuko at do not bend over and don't strain during the defecation or yung tinatawag natin na Valsalva maneuver or yung pag-ire. Huwag rin magbubuhat ng um, mabigat kasi baka yung suture natin is bumuka and mas worse, matanggal pa. So mga about 1 to 2 weeks muna yan. And lastly, position patients belonging to an non-operative side. So that's the patient can see his or her belonging and can attend to his or her daily needs. Kaya kaya naman nila kaso nga lang yung malabo nga lang yung paningin nila. So upesto lang natin sa side na normal yung eyes niya or yung non-operative side para mas madali nilang maabot, 'di ba? So give health teaching to the patient. So, the first is to avoid quick movements. So, dapat dahan-dahan lang kanyo yung galaw ng ulo and notify the physician if there is sudden onset of pain. Kasi baka yung bagong lente na nilagay is na-dislodge. So, next is no bending or stooping, as I mentioned earlier, and check for any indication of hemorrhage or suture rupture. Or tingnan natin kasi nga baka may dugo tayo nakikita. And sasabihin naman ng pasyente na parang yung luha ko may dugo. So baka nagkaroon nga ng suture rupture. So we need to report it immediately to the physician. And next, cataract glasses should be worn if lens implant is not performed. Dahil minsan wala pang makuwang lente. So yung cataract glasses muna ang yung cataract glasses muna. And syempre bawal muna siya mag-drive. And avoid eye straining. Avoid applying pressure to eyes. Huwag mo na magbasa sa dilim or hinaan yung mga brightness ng mga cellphone, iPad, or even laptop. Lalo na kapag gabi. So you need to minimize the light para hindi masakit sa mata. Dahil nga since merong nga siyang photophobia or light sensitivity. And if there is a drainage or a tearing or yung nagluluha, it should be wiped off from inner canthus to outer canthus. And use eye shield to prevent accidental scratching of the eye, especially at bedtime. So, after the cataract, we have the glaucoma. So, glaucoma is defined as increased IOP or intraocular pressure that can caused by decreased outflow aqueous humor into the canal phylum or even the production of aqueous humor. So, patients with this kind of eye disorder rather, either magkaroon ng overproduction or blockage doon sa drainage. So aqueous humor is a fluid give the eye its shape and nourishes the cornea and lens by supplying nutrition. So dapat for the normal intraocular pressure or yung IOP na tinatawag is to be maintained. The production is equal dapat to outflow. So kung nagkaroon ng problem, either blockage or in the drainage, or even it's have an abnormality with production of um, glaucoma will be produced. So as you can see on the pictures below, kung merong it's either outflow or blockage or even the congestion on the trabecular meshwork. So it reduces the flow of aqueous humor fluid through the Schlemm's canal. So the trabecular meshwork functions is the main pathway for the drainage aqueous humor out of the eye. So habang yung Schlemm's canal naman or yung Schlemm's canal structure that functions to maintain fluid homeostasis. So dinidrain niya yung mga aqueous humor fluid from the eye into the systemic circulation. So the usually talaga is nagkakaroon ng problem with the anterior chamber dahil meron tayo anterior and posterior chamber sa ating mata. So as you can see on the pictures, medyo maliit nga lang. Check the space in front of the iris and at the back of the cornea. That's the anterior chamber. While the posterior chamber naman is located behind the iris and in front of the lens. So yan yung chamber of the eyes in glaucoma. Pero in glaucoma, the affected part is yung anterior chamber. Based sa research ko, if the condition worsen, the posterior chamber may also be affected. So, sa glaucoma is kapag ka mataas yung IOP, okay? So, if there is a overproduction of the aqueous humor fluid or merong blockage doon sa drainage, which is yung Schlemm's Canal, or merong congestion or sumikip, baka may tendency na sumikip yung trabecular meshwork, yung pathway nung aqueous humor fluid out of the eye. Kung sumikip yon, ang mangyayari is magkakaroon ng build up of the aqueous humor fluid doon sa anterior chamber. So, ang mangyayari kapag na-form yun, yung build up na yun is mapupush back yung ano natin, yung mga lenses natin lahat na pwedeng ma-damage yung the optic nerve, 'di ba? So, with that is magkakaroon ng mga clinical manifestations mamaya, makikita natin. So, this is the better vision or the better image kasi yung una nga is maliit talaga so hindi makita. And hindi rin naka-indicate dun yung trabecular meshwork, which is the pathway of the aqueous humor. So as you can see here, pressure na siya sa loob. I mean, meron ng yung trabecular meshwork were blocked, causes the pressure buildup. So nagkaroon na ng build up of the fluid here dito sa anterior chamber. And with that fluid is nape-pressure na or naiipit na yung optic nerve na nagda-damage and nagkakaroon ng vision loss. Ayan siya. So, napupush back kasi yung, um, yung mga nerve dito sa likod. I mean, napupush back itong mga nasa part ng eyes natin going to the back. So, that caused the pressure of the optic nerve, the damage na siya, naiipit, ganun. So, nag-atrophize na siya. Ayan. So, may blockage dito ng trabecular meshwork. For the risk factors naman of glaucoma are the age over 40 years old and above, and with a family history of glaucoma. And lastly is the diabetes. So, we have a different types of glaucoma. First is the acute closed angle of glaucoma, or also known as narrow angle glaucoma. So, these conditions results from obstruction to outflow of aqueous humor. So, kaya siya close angle kasi merong bara. When it comes to close angle glaucoma, follows untreated attack of acute close angle type. So, if the acute close angle is leave untreated, so the chronic also will follow. And we have here the chronic open angle glaucoma results from overproduction or obstruction to the outflow of the aqueous humor. So it's either of the two can cause of chronic open angle glaucoma. So baka um, nag-result yung open angle glaucoma from the merong overproduction or merong obstruction doon sa outflow ng aqueous humor. And next is the acute glaucoma. When we say acute, again, it is a rapid onset. So, biglaan siyang tumaas ng more than 50 to 70 millimeters of mercury. And lastly, the chronic glaucoma is a slow. When we say chronic, mamatagalan, slow, progressive, and gradual onset. When we say gradual again, is paunti-unti. Of the IOP or intraocular pressure, more than 30 to 50 millimeters of mercury. Due to the increasing of the IOP, the optic nerve can be impinged. So, pag tumaas yung IOP, yung optic nerve natin, pwede siyang maipit na nagkakos siya ng atrophies, which the optic nerve fibers will be damaged in the retina. Now, let's proceed to the clinical manifestations. Ano nga ba yung what are the clinical manifestations for the patients having the glaucoma? So, the first one is the um, halos around white light. So, ito yung pinaka nirereklamo ng mga pasyente na every time na makakakita sila ng ilaw sa bahay nila, they see the halos, which is yung parang merong ring or yung merong, meron pang nakapalibot na ilaw doon sa ilaw na tinitignan mo. So, yun yung nakikita nila. And then we have a progressive loss of peripheral vision. So kung yung sa cataract is ang affected is yung central loss of the vision since lens yung affected, sa glaucoma naman is since sa gilid siya, so loss of peripheral vision siya. But if the condition worsen, loss of central vision will follow. So increase next one is increased IOP using tonometers to determine pupil is dilated and nausea and vomiting because of the blurry vision. So talagang nakakahilo siya. And vision worsening in the evening with difficulty adjusting to dark rooms. There could be a frontal headache, eye pain, photophobia. Again, when I say photophobia, ito yung pagkakaroon ng light sensitivity. So if you're going to look up the pictures at the right side, you can see the healthy optic nerve versus the optic nerve in eye with glaucoma. So kung mapapansin nyo is nag-atrophy na, nakikita nyo yung color puti na yan. Ibig sabihin nag-atrophy na talaga yung optic nerve niya since naiipit siya because of the intraocular pressure. So unlike din sa normal optic nerve, and also as you can see, sa mga blood vessels niya, merong nag-appear talaga sa optic nerve na merong increase ng intraocular pressure dahil talagang gigil na gigil yung mga blood vessels niya compared doon sa healthy optic nerve na relax lang, ganun. For the management, meron tayong medical intervention, and next is yung surgical intervention. And for the medical intervention, we have the meiotic drugs. The meiotic drugs is to facilitate drainage of the aqueous humor and constriction of pupils. Kung sa cataract is meron tayong mydriatics, which to dilate the pupil. Pag sa glaucoma naman is to constrict, so kabaliktaran siya. So why? Para mapiga, ganun. So next is the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. So I know you're very familiar with this because it is a kind of diuretics. So the carbonic anhydrase inhibitors is to decrease the production of aqueous humor. Ayun nga, sabi ko, it's actually a type of diuretics. And among the glaucoma patient, ito yung mga drug of choice. And next is yung beta blockers. These beta blockers is to decrease the production of aqueous humor and the intraocular pressure. So, ito yung dalawang gamot na binibigay. Una, yung carbonic anhydrase. And next is itong beta blockers. For the surgical interventions natin is yung peripheral iridectomy. So, the surgeon typically makes a small incision into the cornea, the clear front surface of the eye, and uses a specialized instrument to remove the portion of the iris near the periphery. This creates a tiny hole that allows the aqueous humor to flow from the posterior chamber of the eye to the anterior chamber. So, dinedrain lang nila yung mga excessive aqueous fluid na pinroduce nung ciliary body. Nag-overproduct, pwede. For the nursing interventions, so always give safety precautions since mayroong blurry vision. So possible, hindi possible, talagang prone siya sa mga injury and accident. So make sure na the patient always always have someone to assist his or her sa mga gusto niyang gawin and the for daily needs na din. And importance of the regular eye examination to monitor the development again of glaucoma. So question, pwede bang bumalik ang glaucoma? Yes, pwede po. Pwede po siyang bumalik. So mahalaga talaga na magkaroon tayo ng regular eye examination for early detection na din. And make sure na ma-address yung naunang cause ng glaucoma mo. Like for example, meron kang diabetes or ito yung naging cause ng una mong glaucoma, so kailangan siya ma-address. Kailangan makontrol yung blood sugar ng pasyente. So next is avoid situations that increase intraocular pressure like stress, using tight of clothes around the neck kasi meron talagang mga tao na nagsusuot ng mga damit na masisikip sa leeg. And next one is the heavy lifting. Heavy lifting and respiratory infection kasi kapag merong respiratory infection, possible na mag-sneeze or magkaroon ng cough. So baka ito pa yung maging cause ng pagtaas ng intraocular pressure natin. And of course, continues to take prescribed medication lifelong. since as what I've mentioned earlier, pwede siyang bumalik. And lastly is avoid the anticholinergic agents because this can cause glaucoma in individuals with narrow anterior chambers by dilating the pupil and causing papillary block.
So a little bit review about the anatomy of the ear. So the ear is divided into three compartments, which is the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. So sa outer ear, makikita nyo from pinna hanggang sa harapan ng eardrum, which is yung kulay violet dito. Then for the middle ear, we have the malleus. The malleus is directly attached to the eardrum. That's why if nagkaroon ng sound wave, the vibration transmit through the small bones on the body. Then we have the incus, the stapes, or the stirrups. The stirrup attached to the bone that encloses the inner ear. Etong kulay green na yan, ayan yung middle ear. Then for the inner ear, makikita nyo dito is yung mga nerves. Dito napapasok si auditory nerves that connected to the brain. Then we have also the eustachian tube that directly connected to the nasopharynx. So now let's talk about the otitis media or yung tinatawag natin sa Tagalog na luga. So otitis media is the inflammation infection of the middle ear caused by the entrance of pathogenic organism with rapid onset of signs and symptoms. Dito sa picture na to, makikita nyo yung normal na eardrum and yung merong otitis media na eardrum. So, as you can see, dito sa normal eardrum, yung eardrum niya is grayish in color, pearly white, and of course, translucent. Baka may magsabi sa inyong transparent yung eardrum, Char. So, translucent. And of course, the reflection of light. So, as you can see, naka-attach din dyan si malleus and si incus. Makikita nyo dyan sa normal na eardrum. Then, with acute otitis media, makikita nyo na nagkaroon na ng bulging yung tympanic membrane and nagkaroon ng hyperemia na din. So, pag nilagyan mo siya pag pinasukan mo siya ng otoscope, di ba yung otoscope is may light? Hindi na nagre-reflect yung light dun sa tympanic membrane. Kaya, ayan yung itsura ng may otitis media. Sa normal, no redness. Otitis media, may redness. We have three types of otitis media: the acute otitis media, the serous otitis media, and the chronic otitis media. For acute otitis media, from the word itself, acute is in a acute infection of the middle ear, usually lasting less than 6 weeks. And the primary cause of acute otitis media is usually the Streptococcus pneumoniae, Hemophilia influenzae, and the Moraxella catarrhis. So, for the serous otitis media, is the middle ear effusion implies fluid without evidence of active infection in the middle ear. Then, for the chronic otitis media, it is a repeated episode of acute otitis media which commonly has a presence of fluid in the middle ear for 6 or more weeks. Okay, now so for the pathophysiology of otitis media, first dito is dahil nga may history ng upper respiratory tract infection, possible na nagkaroon ng viral infection that can leads to congestion or nagkaroon ng swelling din sa nasal mucosa. Dahil nga nagkaroon ng swelling din sa nasal mucosa, is possible na nagkaroon ng blockage dun sa eustachian tube or nagkaroon ng occlusion. Since nagkaroon nga ng blockage, of course, magkakaroon siya ng increased negative pressure in the middle ear that can cause accumulation of secretion secondary to viral and bacterial infection that can cause an acute otitis media. So, take note for the common bacterial infection that connected with the otitis media is the Streptococcus pneumoniae and the Haemophilus influenzae. For the continuation, since nagkaroon nga na accumulation of secretions and nag-increase yung pressure in the middle ear, possible din na magkaroon ng perforation of the tympanic membrane or nagkaroon ng butas that also called as the suppurative otitis media. Since nagkaroon nga ng butas dun sa tympanic membrane or sa eardrum, magkakaroon na siya ng otorrhea or yung ear drainage or sa Tagalog is yung luga. That can cause sometimes chronic suppurative otitis media. For the risk factor of otitis media, major problem in children but may occur at any age. So, as you can see below, merong picture dyan na differentiate ng eustachian tube of adult and children. So, mas risk yung children dahil sa shorter, horizontal, softer, and smaller passageway of eustachian tube than the adult because the adult has a larger, vertical, stiffer, and larger passageway. Kaya mas easier spreading of infection from the nasal pharynx into the middle ear yung mga infant. Then, of course, di ba yung mga bata, imbis na isingan nila yung sipon nila, parang inaano nila pabalik, sinisingot, parang ganon, diba? Kaya mas prone talaga sila to have infection and inflammation. Then, of course, history of a previous upper respiratory tract infection dahil prone sila sa viral infection. The clinical manifestation of a patient with otitis media, pain is usually the first symptoms. Kahit na itry nyo i-pull yung pina, upward, downward, backward, konting galaw nyo lang is nasasaktan na si patient. Bakit? Dahil nga inflamed yung eardrum niya, and if you try to manipulate the ear, nai-irritate siya. And of course, fever, virulent discharge if nag-rupture na yung eardrum, irritability, mapapansin nyo na kung baby yung patient nyo, kinakamot niya tapos iyak siya ng iyak, kaya nagkakaroon ng irritability. Headache, hearing loss, anorexia, vomiting, nausea, bulging tympanic membrane kapag tinignan nyo sa otoscope yung eardrum. As you can see, nagkakaroon siya ng bulging. Makikita nyo dyan sa left upper ng PowerPoint. Then, sa baba niya, makikita nyo na para siyang butas, diba? Nagkaroon ng perforated eardrum na yan. Kung mapapansin nyo, yan, nandyan, butas na talaga siya as in. Ganyan yung itsura ng perforated eardrum. Then, ito naman sa kabilang side, ayan yung luga. Ayan yung luga na lumalabas dun sa tenga and also called as otorrhea. For the management, kadalasan binibigay is antibiotic dahil nga nagkaroon ng infection. Penicillin is the drug of choice, pero nowadays kasi yung mga doctor is binibigay na lang nila is amoxicillin for 7 days, diba? Then, aplacin drops, binibigay ito kapag hindi ruptured yung eardrum niya. Hindi siya pwedeng ibigay kapag ruptured na yung eardrum. Nasal decongestants, the Decolgen or the Sinutabs, para lang ma-relieve yung nasal congestion, and of course, the antihistamine. And lastly, dahil nga may inflamed and may pain, pwede kong magbigay ng analgesic for pain. So, for the surgical management, if hindi na kaya yung pain and sobrang bulge na ng tympanic membrane, small surgical incision may occur. It is called as myringotomy. Myringotomy is an incision is made into the posterior inferior aspect of the tympanic membrane or sa ibaba ng tympanic membrane for draining purposes to relieve pressure and drain pus. So, ginagawa to prevent rupture of the tympanic membrane and of course, as you notice, nakadikit na siya dyan, diba? Forever na siya nandyan actually, pero minsan, once na nag-heal na yung eardrum niya, natatanggal na siya ng pusa. Kaya kapag may nakita kayong ganyan or may kakilala kayong may tube na nakalagay sa eardrum niya, syempre sabihan nyo na huwag kakamutin yung tenga, baka kasi matanggal, knowing na meron pang passes na kailangan i-drain. Then of course, bawal siya mag-swimming dyan dahil baka mapasokan ng tubig yung tube and yung tympanic membrane. Then, pwede siya mag-swimming pero bawal siya mag-scuba diving, sumisid, ganyan. Okay, for the nursing intervention, of course, give medication as prescribed by the doctors, analgesic, and antibiotics. By the way, yung aflosin drops pala is otic antibiotic na pinapatak diretso sa tenga. And of course, safety measures should be done to prevent falls. Kasi, syempre, baka kasi altered na din yung balance niya, kaya kailangan natin i-prevent yung client from injury and falls. Then, inform patient that sequelae of the illness are brain abscess and meningitis. Yan yung mga common complication kapag hindi na-treat agad yung otitis media. Kailangan mo din i-inform si patient para din aware siya. Then, of course, avoid swimming, shampooing hair, showering, to give time for the eardrum to heal, lalo na kapag meron kayong may rhingotomy tube, di ba? Baka mapasukan naman ng tubig yon. Kaya, mas kasi na mapasukan ng tubig, mas matagal siya mag-heal and mas prone to have complications. Then, avoid ear picking, inserting toothpick in ear to relieve the itch. Di ba, kadalasan yung mga tao kasi kapag makati yung tenga, ginagawa nila is gumukuha ng toothpick, tas ayun yung pinapangkamot nila sa tenga nila para lang ma-relieve yung itch nila. And that's it for otitis media.
Okay, so let's proceed to the syndromes or the Meniere's syndrome. Okay, Meniere's syndrome is also called as endolymphatic hydrops. It refers to dilation of endolymphatic system by overproduction or decreased reabsorption of lymphatic fluid. So specifically, there is an accumulation of fluid in the semicircular canals. Okay? Yung endolymphatic fluid kasi, hindi dapat yan nagbi-build up. Dapat hindi yan naiipon. Okay? So dapat small amount lang yan dapat. Okay? Kapag mayroong accumulation ng endolymphatic hydrops, nagkakaroon ng imbalance to all the organs of the ear. Kaya yun yung mga mababanggit natin in the next slides. Ano yung mga magkakaroon ng imbalance or ano yung magiging problema or ano yung magiging clinical manifestation doon sa pasyenteng merong Meniere's syndrome. Okay, next. Okay, so what are the causes when it comes to Meniere's disease? So there is an increased endolymphatic secretion in the labyrinths. So specifically, there's overproduction of fluid on the labyrinth. Okay, and of course, pwede rin na long-term stresses may be a contributing factor. So clinical manifestation, we have here the TUB as a triad of Meniere's disease. Okay, so the T is tinnitus. Tinnitus is parang may narinig tayong ugong and parang nakakarinig tayo ng mga ring like that, and it feels like na parang nakasuot or may nakalagay na earphone sa tenga natin. Okay, so, parang sobrang lakas, mga ganun. And unilateral sensory neural hearing loss. One of the ear is affected or impaired. Okay, kasi nga from the word itself, uni. Okay, yung isang part lang yung affected. Okay, initial hearing loss is reversible, but as the frequency of attacks continues, nagkakaroon ng permanent or yung hearing loss niya is permanent. Kaya dapat mas maganda as much as possible is maagapan siya if nakaramdam na ng gantong sintomas yung client. And of course, vertigo, it's a sensation that the environment around the patient is moving. Okay, kahit na nakaupo or nakahiga, parang umiikot yung paligid. And of course, nakakaramdam siya ng spinning or yun, like that na parang umiikot yung paligid niya. And kaya, wag nating pipilitin na tumayo yung pasyente or mag-stand yung pasyente. As much as possible, dapat nakahiga or nakarest lang yung pasyente natin with the head of the bed are elevated. Okay? And of course, we do also the side rails up to to promote safety sa pasyente natin. Why? Because risk yung pasyente natin for falling, okay? Falling to the ground. And of course, vertigo that is so intense that even while lying, the client holds the bed or ground in attempt to prevent the whirling. And of course, the patient also experience nausea and vomiting and nystagmus. And in severe case, the patient will also experience headache. This is the pathophysiology of Meniere's disease. Okay? So, una, endolimbs moves from the cochlea to the endolymphatic sac. Remember, ang cochlea is the site of production, while the endolymphatic sac is the site of absorption. Okay? If there is any disturbances in production and absorption, I think due to aging or long-term stresses, okay, it may lead to accumulation of endolymphatic fluid in what? In the cochlea and the membranous labyrinth. Okay? So, possible when it comes to cochlea that there is a tendency na magkaroon ng hearing loss si patient and tinnitus or sensory neural hearing loss. When it comes to membranous labyrinth, so possible na magkaroon ng vertigo si patient. Why? Kasi ang membranous labyrinth na nasabi natin kanina is for balance. Siya yung nagre-regulate ng balance ng pasyente, specifically the equilibrium. Okay? So when it comes to assessment, ano yung assessment na makikita natin sa pasyente or when we assess the patient? So expect that there is a feeling of fullness in the ear, and of course tinnitus is characterized as a continuous low pitch roar or humming sound, and of course hearing loss and vertigo. Okay? So the next one is non-surgical management. Okay, we promote on the patient is cannulate positioning with the head of the bed elevated para to prevent injury or accident, and of course para to promote also safety sa pasyente, and of course provide bed rest in quiet environment para hindi ma-stress yung pasyente like that, and provide assistance with walking. Why? Because yung pasyente natin dito is prone for accident and injury na sinabi kanina. Kaya as much as possible, dapat binabantayan natin or inaalalayan natin yung pasyente while he or she walking. Okay? Instruct the client to move the head slowly. So, dapat hindi mabilis. Baka kasi mag-vertigo si patient kapag sobrang bilis naman yung pag-move ng head niya. Kaya we encourage yung patient natin na medyo dahan-dahan lang. Kung tatayo, dahan-dahan lang, or igagala yung ulo, dapat dahan-dahan lang. And when it comes to nutrition therapy, so we encourage the patient na kumain ng mga mababa ang salt, okay, salt content. Why? Kasi kapag yung patient is kumakain ng mga salty food, okay, that there is a tendency na na makapag-introduce pa tayo or makapag-introduce pa sa katawan ng pasyente ng fluids. Okay? Baka mas lalo pa mag-excess yung fluids doon sa inner ear ng pasyente. That can lead to pain. Okay? Bakit ba? Ano ba yung rationale why low salt diet? Because kapag mayroong salt, where the sodium goes, water follows. Okay? Kaya kapag maraming salt sa katawan natin, that there is a tendency na mas dadami din yung fluid sa katawan. Okay? So, and of course, avoid caffeine and limit alcohol. Why? Because these two is, it contains antidiuretic antidiuretic. So, baka hindi natin mapaihi yung pasyente natin. Okay? So, delikado yun. Kaya nga, di ba, pharmacological treatment natin dyan is magbibigay tayo ng mga dahil nga mayroong excess ng fluid, so we give antidiuretic. Okay? Joke, sorry. Not antidiuretic. Diuretic drugs. Okay? Like yung mga furosemide, yung mga ganyan. So, the next one is surgical management. Okay? So, meron tayong tinatawag na endolymphatic decompression with the drainage and shunt. Okay? It performed by early in the course of the disease to assist with the drainage or excess fluids. Okay? To, to withdraw the excess fluids in the uh, semicircular canal. Okay? After this procedure, the patient will experience vertigo after the surgery, but it is temporary. And then of course we also have labyrinthectomy if the case worsen. Okay, ito na yung parang the last intervention na surgical intervention na kailangan gawin sa pasyente in order for him na hindi maging worse yung case ng pasyente. And of course, post-operative intervention, assessing packing and dressing on the ear. This is for monitoring the possible bleeding of the ear. Okay? So, minomonitor natin dito if there an excess or there is a blood. Okay? Speak to the client on the side of the unaffected ear. Okay? If the patient is na surgery siya in the right, so we speak to the patient at the left side of him para at least marinig niya clearly yung sasabihin natin sa kanya. And of course, perform neurological assessment and maintain safety with the use of side rails. Always maintain the side rails up in the bed to promote safety to our patient, and assisting with ambulating because the patient is trouble in maintaining balance, kaya we should assist them in order to avoid unwanted accident or falling sa pasyente. So that's all the report.